Ladies and gentlemen, guests, fellow Oklahomans, the governor of the great state of Oklahoma, Governor Mary Fallin.
Thank you. Lieutenant Governor Lamb, statewide elected officials, Speaker McCall, President Pro Tem Schultz, members of the court, honorable senators and representatives, cabinet members, our tribal leaders, guests, and citizens of the state of Oklahoma. It is my pleasure to be here with you today as we discuss the state of our state. I'm joined today by my husband, Wade Christensen, and our wonderful children, Christina and Adam, and our daughter-in-law, Elizabeth, and other family members. Welcome, guys. I look forward to working with our new legislative leaders, Pro Tem Schultz and Speaker McCall, and continue to work with our Senate Minority Leader Sparks and House Minority Leader Inman. And I want to thank our legislators for all your dedication, your commitment to better government. I especially appreciate the second bond issue enacted last year to renovate this wonderful, irreplaceable building in which we now gather. You might have heard a little bit of construction noise. I asked if they'd mind to stop while I gave my speech today. We will celebrate its 100th birthday on June 30th, and we have planned a great celebration for it. Well, this is my 7th year I've had the pleasure of delivering the State of the State message, and we have accomplished a lot. And I plan to be just as productive in my remaining 2 years. In a book on leadership by Stan Toller, it is written, "Great leaders are never satisfied with the current levels of performance. They are relentlessly driven by possibilities and potential achievement. Those who try to do something and fail are infinitely better than those who do nothing and succeed." Today I want to talk about what we can accomplish to give hope to our state and to chart a course for a better future. There is no question that the dramatic downturn in our energy sector and an increased loss in our sales tax revenue from online shopping the last couple of years has affected both our state and both our private and public sectors. But we are a resilient state, made of strong people with a long, proud history of facing challenges head-on and coming out in a better place. We love our families and strive to improve our economy. We are patriotic and respect our law enforcement officers and veterans. We value our freedoms and our liberties. In preparing this speech, I thought about our strengths, which I just mentioned, along with our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats. Oklahoma will continue to struggle if we don't fix our structural deficits in our budget. A well-respected CEO of American Express, Ken Chenault, is fond of paraphrasing a quote attributed to Napoleon. "Leaders define reality and provide hope." So, as our state's top leaders, let's focus on the reality of our state budget deficit. To start, for decades, we've attempted to balance our budget for too long with the use of one-time funding resources. We cannot afford to pass another budget using a large amount of non-recurring revenue. It is important to provide sufficient revenues to meet the basic responsibility our government owes its citizens. And here they are: educating our children, ensuring health and public safety for our people, and preserving and improving our infrastructure. Now, no one can argue that these are not fundamental state services, and our ability to provide them to Oklahomans reliably and efficiently is not cutting it. Government in and of itself does not create jobs, but it should provide the right environment to grow the economy through a free market system unfettered by burdensome regulations. It is our responsibility to prepare a plan and a workable budget for long-term solutions to the challenges that our state faces. We must deliver services that work for the people and put people over politics. Now, go right ahead. But let's face it, the continued uncertainty of our budget affects not only the services we provide to our citizens, but it also affects the effectiveness of our government. So let's work together to get the job done to ensure the best outcomes for our people. Now, to do so, we need to invest in Oklahoma's future. So what do we do about it? Well, today I'm proposing a series of bold reforms to stabilize our state regarding both our recurring revenue and repairing the structural deficit of our budget. We must put Oklahoma on a solid foundation for its future. This proposal represents a modernization of Oklahoma tax laws that will ensure new growth in years to come so that we will have the flexibility to prioritize our spending on new emerging needs. This plan eliminates the most regressive tax on the books today, the state sales tax on groceries. This will benefit all Oklahomans. Eliminating the state sales tax on groceries is expected to result in an annual savings somewhere between $350 to $676 for a family of 4. It also gets rid of one of the most volatile sources of revenue, the corporate income tax. It will work to reduce the paperwork and the red tape burden of many small businesses in our state and boost economic development. Eliminating this tax provides more transparency, as it also eliminates the need for this legislature to pick winners and losers with specific tax credits. Third, sales tax modernization. For many decades, when the legislature first contemplated the sales tax laws to boost revenues. We did complicate it too, by the way. You know, sometimes it comes out what you're really thinking on your mind. Right, judges? Justices? All right, let's start that back again. Oh, goodness. For many decades ago, when the legislature first contemplated the sales tax laws to boost revenues, the economy depended upon the manufacture and sale of goods. As the economy in the United States has shifted from a manufacturing-based economy to a service-based economy, the way we impose taxes and collect revenue no longer reflects our current economy, but instead an outdated system that has not changed much since its inception. So by expanding the sales tax base, this allows us to eliminate the state sales tax on groceries and the corporate income tax, and it may be possible in the future to further lower the sales tax rate. To improve the health of our state, I'm also again asking you to raise our cigarette tax. Smoking remains the #1 cause of preventable death in Oklahoma. It costs our state $1.62 billion in health care costs. Now, the revenue raised by this can be spent on other current health care needs. Next, for decades, we've talked about how gasoline and diesel taxes should go to roads and bridges. My tax reform plan does that. My plan will ensure that taxes associated with roads and bridges are the funding source for the maintenance of roads and bridges, period. Now, what this does is it returns the individual income taxes to the General Revenue Fund. This plan does not, by the way, impact the Department of Transportation's 8-year plan. It will stay intact. Oklahoma currently ranks 48th in diesel tax in the nation and 49th in gasoline tax. So I'm proposing a new revenue stream by increasing our gas and diesel taxes to the regional state average, but below the national average. By trading out the use of individual income tax to a gas and diesel tax dedicated to roads and bridges, this budget change dramatically improves the percentage of revenue collections this legislature will be able to control. As we've discussed for decades, let's put fuel taxes to roads and bridges. By working together and avoiding distractions, we can solve today's problems and make Oklahoma grow and prosper. First, to improve the workforce and education. I'm going to talk about that. As of August 31, 2016, there were more than 71,000 open jobs in the state of Oklahoma. Of these jobs, almost 18,000 are what we call critical occupations, such as engineers, teachers, nurses, chemists, accountants, and truck drivers. Therefore, in my budget, I'm providing $20 million for higher education programs for critical occupations. A thriving, prosperous economy must have a skilled, educated workforce, and that starts with good teachers in the classroom, providing our children with a quality education 5 days a week. And my budget provides for both. In a recent meeting I hosted with some major national site location companies, an executive asked me how he could persuade businesses to come to Oklahoma when some of our schools have 4-day education weeks. We must have 5-day school weeks. Now, let's act on a permanent pay raise for our public school teachers. It's what the public wants, and it's what our families need. The pay raise may need to be phased in, and it may be targeted, but it must be done. However, we also know that a pay raise alone will not improve student outcomes. We have to ensure that more existing dollars are reaching the classroom by tackling administrative inefficiencies head on. We have a very top-heavy system that needs to be reformed to provide teachers and students more resources. The state already provides a number of services that school could voluntarily take advantage of to save money, such as our IT services, our purchasing, and bonding assistance. So in addition to that, I'm creating a task force to review the state's education funding formula, to evaluate funding sources, and to analyze the K-12 system footprint. Just as we must fix our state's budget structural issues, we must do the same for our K-12 education system. Our education system must be focused on creating the best outcomes. To do so, we must ensure more money goes to the classrooms and to teachers. We must empower students and parents by giving them more choices so they can best address their own needs. We must be accountable to the taxpayers on how we spend our education dollars. Second, public safety. We need Did I wake you up, Commissioner? He liked that part, didn't he? He was awake. I'm just teasing him. He's been ringing off my phone, so here we go, Commissioner. This is your part. Second, public safety. We need to keep our families and our communities safe. Last fall, a dangerous man named Michael Vance Jr. traveled across Oklahoma on a deadly crime spree for a week. Law enforcement was desperate to find him and to stop him. He was spotted in a rural area in Custer County in western Oklahoma. Trooper Brian Costanza drove 230 miles all the way from Multnomah County in eastern Oklahoma to help. Driving at a high rate of speed, Trooper Costanza chased Vance down a dark rural road, blowing out his patrol car's own windshield while exchanging gunshots with Vance, who had an AK-47. I'm sure you've seen the video. It's pretty incredible. Trooper Costanza, along with other troopers who helped to pursue and apprehend Vance, are here. Troopers Chris Hanover, and I'm going to ask these guys to please stand as I call off your names. Trooper Chris Hanover, Trenton Kiesler, Brandon Stewart, Micah Whittington, along with helicopter pilots Brian Sturgill and Cole Patterson, along with Trooper Brian Costanza. Will you please stand and let us thank you for your service. Thank you to all of our law enforcement officers and their families who make sacrifices to keep us all safe. We appreciate you. Now, approximately 26% of our current Highway Patrol troopers are eligible for retirement. We must prepare for the future and fund a trooper academy. And while we're at it, no trooper should be furloughed or restricted to drive 100 miles a day because of lack of funding. My budget accommodates these issues. Investing in public safety is not just about investing in the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. Public safety is also about investing in ways to be smarter on crime and tough on true criminals. It's no secret our prison population is in a crisis with over 61,000 people under the jurisdiction of corrections. Our prisons are way over capacity, and our prison population is expected to grow by 25% over the next 10 years. Oklahoma's overall incarceration rate is the second highest in the country. We lead the nation in female incarceration, incarcerating women at 2.5 times the national average. Now, contrary to what some of you may think, Oklahoma women are not meaner. Without reform, Oklahoma must build or lease 3 new prisons, an expensive proposition, even in the best of times. We would need 2 new prisons immediately without any further reform this year. So that is why I created the Oklahoma Justice Reform Task Force to find data-driven, smarter on crime policies to focus on improving public safety. "75% of our new admissions in prison are nonviolent offenders per statute. The number of drug possession offenders sentenced to prison with no prior convictions has more than doubled in 5 years. My budget includes new money for corrections and treatment, which includes a $50 million bond issue to build wings on a men's and women's prisons for substance abuse offenders and rehabilitation. Now, there is unprecedented conservative support on this issue from groups like the American Conservative Union and law enforcement leaders to reduce crime and incarceration. Meanwhile, smart on crime states, conservative states such as Texas, Utah, Georgia, Kentucky, and South Dakota are already headed in this direction, and states have seen better public safety outcomes by pursuing these types of reforms. As Roy Williams, the president and CEO of the Greater Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce, recently said, and quote, "Oklahoma spends too much money without positive outcomes locking up low-level, nonviolent people." The business community supports the governor's efforts and encourages the legislature to seriously consider these recommendations. And then he went on to say, "Doing nothing means taxpayers must spend billions more to incarcerate more people or risk problematic federal intervention in our system." And while I'm talking about public safety, send me a bill to fix the Real ID licenses. We have 4 months to solve this issue. Let's get it done. Third, health. As I said in my second inaugural speech, our health outcomes are holding us back as a state, and the status quo is not acceptable. As a result, I've convened a group of healthcare leaders from throughout the healthcare industry and the state government to ensure that we are improving health outcomes and the quality of health care and controlling costs. There are too many issues to contend with in health care, and Obamacare has created additional problems we must address. Health care premiums are increasing at a dramatic rate. Deductibles are so high, people can scarcely afford their insurance coverage that they have purchased, and the regulations that have been handed down from the federal government are creating added costs with very limited benefit. So with the help of our local healthcare leaders, we are developing a plan that we will submit to the new administration to fix the problems we have seen in Oklahoma. We hope to reduce regulations, to create lower-cost insurance plans, encourage investment in private health accounts so people can direct their health care purchases, and utilize successful local programs like our Insure Oklahoma program to provide health insurance coverage that works for Oklahoma. Now, while we are fixing our broken health care system, we can never take our attention away from preventing illnesses in the first place. So let's not forget that too. Fourth, we can't continue to ignore our state's crumbling infrastructure. So in my budget, I've identified our state's most pressing urgent needs, along with a bond proposal to address them. They include a new Department of Health lab, so we don't lose our national accreditation, and improving facilities like corrections, mental health, juvenile affairs, just to name a few. So what I've outlined today is a realistic, responsible way to put our state on a successful path. By investing in our state, we create a stronger business climate, a place where people want to live and work and raise their family. But this can't happen unless we roll up our sleeves and do the tough work and make tough decisions. So on your desk, you will find a packet that contains 3 budgets, a red, yellow, and green. So the red budget cuts $668 million, which reflects our current shortfall. That's approximately an 11% cut to all agencies, and by the way, some which have already taken cuts of 20, 30, 40, 50, and even one with a 66% cut over the last many, many years. Your yellow budget drains almost about half of the remaining balance of our rainy day fund, and it also still makes substantial cuts. These budgets would be detrimental to our state, and I don't recommend we consider either one of them. But the green budget presents a path forward, stabilizing our budget's structural challenges while investing in core essential services. It actually basically mirrors our 2003 budget adjusted for inflation, but is still less than the 2009 fiscal year budget, which was the highest watermark when adjusted for inflation. We must note also that our student population has grown by 48,000 students since 2009, and our state's population has grown from 3.5 million to just under 4 million in population. So I'm going to show you a chart here on both sides. As you can see on this chart, if we do these things I've outlined, this will give our legislators more control in directing how money can be spent on the state's most pressing needs. If you look at this chart, in the 2017 fiscal year, legislators have control of just a little bit more than 44 cents of every dollar. But by making the changes I've outlined, we can bump that amount up to 62 cents and 62% of every dollar by the year 2020 in the fiscal year. That means you have more control as legislators to prioritize our spending on the state's most pressing needs. Just think what we could accomplish if we were able to structurally change our budget. We can chart a new, brighter course for the state of Oklahoma. Now, as the Bible says, without a vision, people will perish. We have to have a vision. As Henry Ford said, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. So let's work together for success. To all of you, I want to say I look forward to having a productive legislative session. Let's get to work in investing in our state's quality of life. God bless you, and God bless the state of Oklahoma. Thank you.